Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here because today we're going to be learning how to crochet this super cute Crochet Safety Pet Bandana. This is a super fast and fun project that you can make for your pet, both cats and dogs. I'm going to talk about sizing at length later in the video. But as you can see, it's a cute granny stripe triangle, and I've attached it to kind of a tube that we're going to make. And it fits, like slides over your pet's collar. And so you can use their own collar and not have to tie a bandana around their neck. So it has that safety feature of having their own collar and it slips right over everything. You can also slide it around and let the loop pop out so they can still have their tags, or you can put a leash on them or whatever. And it's really, like I said, really fast and easy to make. Now you can get this pattern in lots of different ways. We're going to go through the entire project step by step and stitch by stitch here today on the channel. You can also get the full written pattern over at the blog. You can get the ad-free PDF patterns over in my Ravelry shop and my Etsy shop. And you can join our Patreon Fiberflux Gold Pattern Club and get the month's PDFs that way as well. So lots of different ways to get this pattern. And so we're going to start by talking about supplies, go through the entire project, and then talk about assembly, how to get it on the pet's collar. Now, this can be for small pets like cats and small dogs. I happen to have a large dog, and as you can see, here's my dog Eddie wearing his bandana as well. He looks super cute in it. And we're going to learn how to make this and scale it to any size pet. So let's jump right in. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure and hit that subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. I appreciate it. It helps the channel so much. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, be sure and do that. So let's jump in and make this cute pet bandana. Okay, so we just looked at this on the dog. I hope you enjoyed the pictures of my dog. I had fun sharing those. But I wanted to show you up close before we get started. What we're going to be making is, and I'm going to unhook this. Now this is his actual collar that he's wearing. Now later in the video I have a new collar that we've never used, but it's just a little bit prettier for the camera. But this is his actual collar that he wears. But what we're going to essentially be making is a triangle, a granny stripe triangle. And then we're going to be making this kind of like a flap at the top. We're going to fold it over and seam it so it wraps around the collar. Now I made it so that it comes to the edges of the buckle. So when you buckle it together like this, you can kind of like pull it closed and it's kind of hidden, but still accessible. Now, I did have a couple people were asking when I shared this on social media. We have the ring that we put the tags or a leash on or something like that. This can simply be slid over if you want to use the ring, okay? Also, if you want to attach some tags, you can kind of go in between those stitches. If you want it to really be hidden, you can kind of see the ring through there and attach them that way. But the easiest way is just to kind of slide it over. So we're going to start with the triangle, work our way up, crochet the flat part, and then we'll assemble it together. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle. A tape measure will be helpful, especially because we're going to talk a lot about customizing this project. Pets come in all different sizes, whether you're making this for a cat or a small dog, large dog. We're going to go through all the customizing of the sizes. So tape measure will be super helpful for this. We're going to use a 5mm H crochet hook for this. And then our yarn, I'm going to be using, this is a really nice kind of all-purpose yarn. It's soft. It comes in lots of colors. It's called Kind Feather from Hobie. It's an acrylic yarn. And it's a number 3 light on the yarn scale. And the ball I have here is color number 18 if you wanted to replicate the color. And the ball that I have is 257 yards. So we're not going to quite use the full ball of this, but if you need to substitute yarn, look for a yarn that is a number 3 light on the yarn weight scale. And this actually recommends a 4.5mm crochet hook. I went up a hook size and used a 5mm. If you use the recommended hook size, it'll just be a little bit, the stitches will be a little bit more dense, okay? So what we're going to do first is you also want to grab your pet's collar. Now I have a large dog, and you can see his photo at the beginning of this video, and also some more photos over at the blog. So click down below and you can see more photos. But I have a large dog, so my dog requires a pretty large collar. So you need to grab the collar that you want to put it on. Now this, like I said, it's a safety bandana, so it's going to slip over the collar, okay? But you'll want to use your personal, your own collar for your pet as an example, because we're going to kind of like, I'm going to show you how far to go with the triangle, for example. So having this nearby will be super helpful. Okay, we're going to begin by making the triangle first. We're going to start at the bottom, work our way up, and then later we'll add the top part of it that you would slip onto the collar, okay? So I got my yarn, hook, we're ready to go. So what we want to do to begin, we're going to start, like I said, from the bottom point and work up. This is just a very simple granny stripe, okay? So wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up a loop and tighten. So we want to get a slip knot onto our hook to start. Then what we'll do is chain 5. To make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So for row 1, what we're going to do is work 3 double crochets in the farthest chain from the hook, or the 5th chain from the hook. They're the same thing, okay? So this loop here does not count. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's that first chain you made, the chain farthest from the hook. We're going to work 3 double crochets into that chain. So to make a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert it into that chain, and bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring through the last 2 loops, okay? So that's 1 double crochet, and in that same chain, we're going to work our 2nd double crochet, and in the same chain, work our 3rd double crochet, okay? Just like that. Then we're going to chain 1, and then in the same chain once again, work 1 more double crochet, okay? So row 1 is complete. So next what we want to do is move on to row 2. For row 2, what we'll do is chain 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to turn our work. Okay, now this is where that tail is really helpful, because if you have it sort of pointing down towards you as you work, it'll help you keep everything in the right place as you turn. Okay, so that chain 1 that we just did, that created a space. So see at the base here, we have a little bit more of an opening, that chain 1 space as it's written in the pattern. So what we're going to do in that chain 1 space is work 3 double crochets right into that space. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and 3 double crochet, all in that chain 1 space, that first space of the row. Then what we'll do is chain 1, and then we're going to go skip over this grouping of 3 double crochets here and go down across to the turning chain space. So remember we did that turn, we chained and we turned, that created a space. So in that turning chain space here at the end, we're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Then chain 1, and then in that same turning chain space, work a double crochet. Just like that. You can see we're starting to get a little bit of a triangle now. Okay, it's just a little tiny triangle. Okay, so row 2 is complete. Now we're going to move on to row 3. Row 3 is the row that you'll repeat for the rest of your little triangle we're going to make here, okay? So for row 3, what we're going to do is chain 4 once again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to turn our work. Again, that tail helps. Make sure it's pointing towards you at the bottom here. And then what we're going to do in that first space, that chain 1 space from the previous row, you can kind of see it here off to the side, that chain 1 space, we're going to work 3 double crochets into that space. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to go over to the next space, the next chain 1 space, which is right here in the middle. As your triangle gets bigger and bigger, you're going to have more spaces to work into. That's how it'll grow outward, okay? So this next space that you come to, work 3 double crochets into that. 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 1. And then we're going to go down to the turning chain space at the end of the row here. So right here at the end, that turning chain space, once again, we're going to work 3 double crochets into that. So 1, 2, 3, then chain 1, then work a double crochet into that same space, okay? So row 3 is complete, okay? And as you can see, our little triangle has gotten bigger again. So what we're going to do for the triangle part is to repeat row 3 over and over and over again until our triangle is as big as we need it to be. And we'll talk about that in a second. Now, every time you repeat row 3, you'll notice that now we have 2 spaces in the middle here to work into. Remember before it was just 1, then we're going to have 2. So it'll be, you'll work on the side and then you'll work these center spaces and then the side again. Okay, so just repeat row 3 and then you're going to make your triangle. Let me grab my pet collar here because we're going to use that as an example. Let me just zoom way out so you can see here. You're going to be repeating row 3 over and over and over until your triangle, we're going to open up our pet collar, lay it flat, work row 3 over and over and over again until our triangle is about half, this top part is about half the size of our collar, okay? Because we're going to kind of be centering it on here. So you're going to keep repeating row 3 over and over and over again until it's about half the size of the collar, okay? Because if we look at our tape measure, so my collar is, we do half the size here. My collar is about 21 inches long, so about 10.5 inches. I'm going to just mark that with my thumb here. That'll kind of center this little triangle here on our collar, which is what we want. We want it to be centered, and then we'll do a big band. This will be the next part, but we're going to make a big band that will extend out the sides of the triangle, and we'll end up folding it, seaming it, and making a tube. Super easy, okay? So keep going until the top edge of your triangle is about half the size of your pet collar, okay? So let's repeat row 3 over and over, and then we'll rejoin once our triangle is the right size that we need it to be. So no matter what length your collar is, an easy way to do that is to take the collar, and you can, let me just get mine straightened out here. Take your collar, fold it in half if you need to, and then just keep working until that triangle comes up on either side of it folded in half. That's just an easy way to do it. That way you don't have to keep measuring. You know, you don't have to do a row and measure it, do a row and measure it. You can just work up to it's half the size, okay? So let's keep repeating row 3 and we'll rejoin in just a minute. Okay, just working that last stitch of the row here. Now I made my triangle top edge roughly half the size of the collar, give or take. It doesn't have to be exact, but if you, real quick way is if you fold your collar in half and hold it up, you can see it's like just slightly over, but that's okay. No worries there. So just to give you an idea, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rows. And now we're going to start working on the top part. Now this is where it becomes a safety bandana, okay? So if you open up the collar, we're going to be adding now, if we slide this down, we're going to be adding a top part. So we're going to add a strip to the top of this that's a little more than twice the width of our collar, okay? So that will enable us to create a fold over and make a tube so that you can slide this onto the collar, and we're going to do that next, okay? So let's move this aside for now. And what we want to do is go back into our project, and we're going to start adding some sides and work upward, okay? Okay, again, this is going to be another customized part of this tutorial. So if we hold our triangle, if we lay our collar down right in the center and lay it over top. Now you might want to grab some clips to kind of hold it into place. I'm going to grab some clothespins and just kind of tack this down just to hold it in place while you work. Now I am going to create a chain. You're going to make a chain next that's going to go to the end of this collar part of our collar, okay? So without taking this off, I made a chain of 14. I already did this ahead of time so I could show you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So roughly to the end of the colorful part of our collar. Okay, see I have it held in place and I just went slightly over by like a chain, okay? Just to give it a little bit of give. But just make a chain to the end here. I did 14, you may need to do something different for yours, okay? So now we can take our little clippies off and kind of slide this out of the way. Okay, then we're going to turn this. I'm just going to zoom in and we're going to go in the third chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work a half double crochet. Okay, now let me just come in a little bit closer so you can see. To make a half double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert it into that third chain from the hook, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap the yarn around the hook, bring it through all 3 loops. That's all. Okay, then you're going to work a half double crochet in each one of those chains that we just made all the way across until we get back to this triangle, and then I'm going to show you what to do next. Okay, so work a half double crochet in each one of these chains all the way across. Okay, super easy. Okay, so we worked across our chains and now we're back at our triangle. So what we're going to do is in each stitch and space across, we're going to work a half double crochet. Okay, so we're at that first space here, work a half double crochet into that first space, and it's just going to make it kind of just blend on through. Okay, now we have, see these 3 double crochets, work a half double crochet in each stitch, each stitch, each stitch. Now we're at a space, work a half double crochet in that space. Whoops, half double crochet in that space. So we're going to work a half double crochet in each stitch and space across. Okay, so just go ahead and do that, work all the way across. Remember to work one in the spaces too. And then when we get to the end of our triangle, this top edge here, we're going to rejoin and I'm going to show you how to create the other end here so you have a matching side. Okay, all right, we're just coming up to the end of the row here, working our half double crochets in each space and stitch. And now at the end we want to replicate what we've done over here. Okay, now if you notice there's a little dip here, we're going to work more rows and that'll disappear, so don't worry about that. Okay, so at the end we want to do the same thing. So when you do the chains on this side, just remember the number that you did because you'll want to do the same here. So we're going to chain 14. Your number might be different depending on the collar that you have. So chain 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay? So again, your number of chains might be different. So let's turn this and we're going to start working into these chains. In the third chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, work your half double crochet. And you're going to work a half double crochet in each chain across. Okay? In that last chain that you come to, work your half double crochet. Now, we have sort of like an area we need to join. So that last space of the row, you can just work a slip stitch in that last space. Just like that. Now I want to show you, you might have a different look of yours. So yours might be flipped this way when you end. And obviously we don't want it to look like stair steps. So you might need to, depending on how you've moved the piece as you've worked, you might need to flip this back up so the point is pointed up and then you can do your join. Okay, so in that last space of the row, just work a slip stitch. Okay. All right, now we are kind of up under where we need to be. So what I'm going to do, just to keep this super easy, is to just cut the yarn and we're going to fasten off. Okay. So just pull that through. We can weave that tail in later. Now flip your piece back over because we're going to start working upward. Okay. We're going to start working up because we want to, let me just zoom back out so you can see, we want to start, now our piece is the length of the collar that we need it to be. Now we're going to start working upward because we need to create enough height so that the bandana will sit here and we have enough to go around and seam it so that it creates a tube that we can send our collar through. That way it can come on and off pretty easily, and you'll have a very removable, safe collar cover basically. And you know, with the safety breakaway collar, you can still use your regular collar. Okay, so let's move this out of the way because we're going to start building upward and create some height. So what I want to do is, we can't really continue. I had to cut the yarn because it was up under and, you know, kind of a weird place. So we need to just cut the yarn and retie it. Okay, so to keep building up, I just tied the yarn into that last stitch of the row here down at the end because we want to start building upward. We're going to stick with our half double crochet stitch, and we're going to bring up a loop with the new yarn and just chain 2. 1, 2, and then turn your work. Okay? Then I'm going to hold this tail along the edge. That'll just knock out one less tail we have to do. Then what you want to do is work a half double crochet in each stitch across, and that's it. Super easy. So work a half double crochet into that first stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, and so forth. Okay? So we're just going to work a half double crochet in each stitch across. And as you can see, I'm holding that tail along the edge as I work, and that's just going to weave it in as we go. Okay? And keep it really simple. And you can, once it's been woven in sufficiently, you can just kind of drop it. All right, so just keep going, working your half double crochets all the way across. Okay, just coming up to the end of the row here, working in that very last stitch. And then all you're going to do to finish creating your height is to just keep repeating the row we just did over and over again. And then let's back up because I want you to see. Now, we need to make enough of a top that we can comfortably fold it over our collar and seam it, okay? So you want to go twice the width and then a little bit more, okay? So what you can do is grab the collar, and as you build more and more height, you can wrap it around and give a little bit extra, maybe like another row or two to allow for seaming, okay? So I'm going to keep repeating my row, and when we rejoin, I'll show you how much height I've built, and then we'll seam it up and put it on the collar and admire what we've done. Okay, just coming up to the end of this last row here, working our half double crochets in each stitch all the way across, okay? So I made this band at the top here about 3 inches, okay? But depending on your collar, you might need to change yours up a little bit. So the next thing we're going to do is, before we fasten off with our yarn, I'm going to pull out, because we need some yarn to seam this, okay? Because remember, we're going to be folding this over and seaming to make a tube, okay? So what we want to do is pull out, I would say, I don't know, like a yard or so, just enough to go across here, okay? So just pull out a little bit of yarn, and we can set that yarn aside because we won't be using that anymore. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop, just like that, okay? All right. There we go. Now, grab your tapestry needle because we do have a couple of ends that we need to take care of. So we have one here, and I believe one over here. Yes, so we're going to deal with those. So just, I'm going to show you how to do one, then you can do the other ones. But just grab your needle, thread it, and then just go. Now we're doing, this is all one color. If you have multiple colors, just stay in the same color so your end will be hidden. Just go in one direction with your needle, and then come back in the other direction, just like that. And you can just give it a little tug and snip it, okay? Repeat with the other tails. Okay, we've woven all of our ends in. Now we just have our seaming tail that we're gonna hang on to for a minute. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this over and seam it all the way across, okay? Now, it may have a little bit of a curvature because we've kind of built this onto a triangle. Totally fine. Once we flip this over and seam it, it'll be fine. Now, full disclosure, at the beginning of this video, I had a brand new, pretty, camera-ready type collar. This is my dog's actual collar. As you can see, it's worn, it's old, but I wanted to put it on his actual collar. Now, if you hop on over to the blog, the link is down below, you can see all the cute pictures of him modeling it. So he's actually literally running around without a collar right now. So I wanted to grab his actual collar. The other collar was just like a collar I never use. I just wanted it to be pretty for the camera, but I want to actually hold this up to his actual collar. It's the same size and everything, but what we're going to do is take our flap that we created, and we're just going to fold it over. We want a little bit of this buckle kind of hanging out at either end, but I just wanted to give this just one more test. And if see how it kind of goes over, the other one might have been a little looser, but you just want to make sure that this buckle is hanging out. Okay, it is covering the buckle, but it is still accessible. Okay, so let's move this over. Now, it wouldn't be an actual dog collar without dirt and pet hair, right? So, okay, we're going to thread our tail, and then we're going to start folding this over and seaming. So you might want to pick what your favorite side is. Even though we did this in rows, it's reversible, but if you have a favorite side, figure that out now before you sew it. So we're going to fold this down like this, and we're just going to start seaming, okay? Now it actually has, he hasn't even worn it yet, and it has dog hair on it, so start down here at the end. All right, and we're just going to sandwich these ends together. Now, I cut a little bit longer of a tail than I need, but it's okay. I'd rather have a little extra than not enough. And we're just going to hold these edges, kind of like sandwich them together, and just pull this through. We're going to go all the way across. Now, I'm going to weave this in up until this point, and then I'm going to show you how to kind of do that part, because we're not going to be able to like sandwich it together like we're doing here. We're going to have to do it just a little bit differently. So we're doing a whip stitch, and all that is a kind of like an invisible spiral through your work. We're using the same yarn. That's why we cut the tail, so the yarn would be invisible and match. And we're just weaving our tail all the way across here. I'm going to show you how to do it for the triangle part, but I'm just getting you to this one spot here. Okay, so keep going till you get to your triangle. I'm just weaving, weaving, weaving. All right, so we have a nice tube so far that we'll later slip the collar right into. Okay, now once you get to the triangle, we'll just do one more seam to kind of close up this corner here, just like that. And then we're going to start sewing like a running stitch. Okay, so we did a whip stitch, but when we get to this point, we have to kind of go through it a little bit differently. Okay, so don't come up over with your flap over that triangle. You want to kind of keep it parallel. Okay, so now we're just going to go up and down instead of a spiral. Okay, and that'll just get us through the triangle part of this. Okay. Okay, so just keep holding it in place, and we're just going to go and do our running stitch across, okay? Just a little bit different of a stitch to handle the triangle part, okay? So you're just going to go down and up. Now I have a bent tip needle. That kind of helps when you're doing this stitch, because it sort of like digs in there a little bit, okay? But we're just going to go all the way across with our seam. And then when we rejoin, we'll finish up the end and try it out with our collar. Okay, over at the other end, we're just going to switch back to our whip stitch because we can now sandwich the two ends together. So just keep doing that all the way to the end. All right, just coming up to the end here. And because this is going to be worn by our wonderful pets, I'm just going to put a little extra stitch in here just to reinforce it so it doesn't come apart. Now, once you do the last stitch, pull it almost all the way through and then send your needle through that loop. and just pull it snug. And then just do that one more time. Just like that, okay? Now, while your tail is still on your needle, go ahead and weave that in. So just make sure you don't do both layers again. You don't want it to sew at this time. You just want to weave the end in. So go in one direction with your tail like you did before, and come back in the other direction. Just like that, okay? Now take your scissors and give it a snip. Okay, now it's time to put it on our collar. All right, so what I like to do is not make the seam face outward. I like to, this is like the outward or the public side, okay? So when you put the doggy collar on here or the cat collar, whatever you're using, I'm going to have the seam on the inside of the collar, okay? So I'm just going to take my one side and you can kind of run this through. Now I took the tags off. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I took the tags off just to help send it through here. You can leave the tags on, and I'll show you something else too you can do. But we're just going to kind of send this through, and it, you know, take your time. This is a handmade item, so you want to treat it with a little bit of care here. Okay, so we have it on here, and then you can just clip it on, and if you want to make it absolutely hidden, you can sort of like bring the edges together. But we have a fun safety collar for our pets and a cute bandana kind of built in, okay? Now, I talked a little bit about the tags, to keep the tags on. You can kind of pull these stitches apart a little bit and thread your tags on there. If you have one of those like keychain rings that keep your tags on, you can do that. Or you can kind of push this aside and flip it up and then kind of slide this part over a little bit, okay? Just to like let that be exposed. So it's up to you how you want to do it. You can go through the stitches if you can, or just kind of push it aside, okay? So our cute safety bandana is complete with dog hair too already. So hop on over to the blog. I also showed a little picture at the beginning of the video as well, but it's so cute and so much fun to make. You can make these in some seasonal colors as well. You can make them in some holiday colors or Halloween colors or Valentine colors, anything you want. But it fits nicely, it's cute, it's very cozy looking for cooler months, and in the warmer months you could do it in cotton as well. So that is how you make a crochet safety dog bandana. I hope you enjoyed this project. It's something a little different than what I normally make, but it was so much fun to make. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflex video updates. Thanks again.